So a lot of people are obsessed with, you know, sharpness charts and MFT curves, but what makes a photograph memorable isn't razor sharp eyelashes. It's more so how that photograph makes you feel. These lenses really hit that balance point between that classic heritage vintage look, but with modern optics and sharpness. Thypoch 75mm bokeh character and the 21mm rendering creates a mood that sterile lenses will never be able to create. Now, this is why I love using Leica M-mount bodies, because I'm able to invest into lenses like this and use them all the way from my film cameras to my digital cameras, whether they have rangefinder patches or electronic EVFs like this Leica EV1, and get a similar experience across the board and get the same exact rendering, whether I'm shooting on film or on digital. Like, there's nothing else that can get that whole ecosystem, you know, and that goes across the board, whether you're shooting them natively on a beautiful Leica M-mount body, or if you're adapting it to like a Nikon ZR with the autofocus adapter, or even the Hasselblad X2D2. Taipok did give me these lenses just so I can tell you guys that they're having a Black Friday sale until I think it was December 3rd. So both of these will be heavily discounted if you want to check them out. Regardless of that though, I approached them and asked them for these lenses because I got to mess with them a little bit in New York City on a fashion shoot. And oh my God, was I impressed by the 75 specifically. Now, with that disclaimer out of the way, speaking of marketing, for years now, companies have been perfecting their lenses and their whole ecosystem throughout their systems. And this goes for all camera brands. And this whole time they keep shoving down our throats, we have the most perfect lenses and they're true to life or better than real life and ultra sharp and ultra clear, zero distortion, zero character. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting incredibly bored with that. You know, for me, I didn't get into photography to chase realism and real life and documenting things to look as true as possible to real life. No. I got into photography because in my brain, I have this visual world that does not exist until I make it exist. I enjoy the escapism and the, you know, the whimsical side of this art form. Obviously for pro jobs, you know, flat clinical lenses are great because it's, you know, that's not about creativity. That's about a client and just getting them safe shots and whatever they're asking for. For me, when it comes to my personal work, I cannot use those lenses because I get so uninspired and just from them. When I start using lenses like this, it really reawakens my creativity and it gets me excited, it makes me passionate again. And it's not the gear driving the creativity, it's more so the gear allowing me to be creative. And having a lens that really speaks to your vision is what's really gonna excite you and get you out there shooting more. That's kind of what it's all about. Let's start with the Thypoch 75mm because this lens is really defining where I'm currently at in my state of, you know, the pursuit of the look I'm chasing. And why is that exactly? The 75mm is incredibly sharp, but it's not like gross sandpaper sharp. It doesn't make skin texture disgusting, but it makes the eyes pop off the image. But at the same time, the bokeh on it is incredibly it's gorgeous. There's some swirliness and cat eye bokeh. And at the first glance of an image, it almost makes you want to look at the whole image because there's like this weird depth that it creates. But then your eye quickly starts going into the focus point because, again, if you land focus with this, the subject really pops off of the image. Don't mind the interruption. You guys have been digging the photo edits in this video. They're all done with my Rambler film emulation presets for Capture One. I do offer these in Lightroom. I'll run through this within 60 seconds, but you can see we have Dusty, Dusty Plus, Saddle, Saddle Plus, Saddle Negative, Lindbergh, and Lindbergh Plus. I usually use the Dusty Plus a lot, and usually I'll go through here, pump up the contrast. I'll go into my color wheels over here and I'll turn down the blacks sometimes. And then you just want to mess with your white balance, obviously, get that tuned up. Sometimes I'll go to the levels and just bring the highlights back a little bit so they're not as flat. And obviously from shoot to shoot, I'm doing different adjustments. Presets aren't made to be a one-click do-it-all type of thing. They're more so getting you started with a foundation so you go in and tweak it yourself a little bit more. But anyways, yes, if you guys are digging the edits in this video, again, I will have a link down in the description if you guys want to check out for Capture One or for Lightroom, my Rambler film emulation buds. For me, this lens is magical right now. Again, that's kind of what I'm pursuing right now. I'm not pursuing realism and documentary and true to life. I want to create escapism, just how when I go and watch a film or when I look at a photographer's work that just takes me out of real life and makes me forget about all the stresses of life. That's what I like doing for myself through photography. And obviously, you know, storytelling within your photography can create that type of emotion for the viewer, but so can optics and the way that you choose optics for the story. That can also create some of that magic for you. Now, some people will be screaming in the comments like they have a wet diaper on saying, oh, lens character is just defects, stop telling people this and that and this. And sure, for them, you know, that might be true. But for the rest of us, you know, what if a company intentionally keeps character into the lens while also trying to make it sharp and modern, but letting that character breathe a little bit, you know, embracing the defects and the flaws, but working with them to enhance them and control them while still fine tuning that sharpness. That's what this Thypoch 75mm does. That's what a lot of M mount lenses do. But yeah, there's a time and place for everything. And as I, you know, have gone more full-time on YouTube, it's given me the ability to pursue more of my own things that I want to shoot without a client telling me what I need to do. And so there's a time and place for everything. Again, that will lead me to the Thypoch 21mm. This is a very well-controlled lens. Let me just say off the bat real quick, the clicked aperture ring on here, oof, there is something stimulating. It feels like someone's hands are on my brain massaging it. Even though the aperture ring sounds amazing on here, there's a little tab on the bottom of the lens. And if I switch it over, it makes it a declicked aperture, which is cool. The issue I've been running into with this lens, and I don't know if I'm doing something to where I keep bumping it or what, but it keeps accidentally sliding into the declicked mode. You know, I might even just glue that tab right there. I think I'm gonna glue that down because I just want this to be a clicked lens. I don't need it to be declicked for any reason. Now the 21mm gives you character in the different way. Obviously with wide angle lenses, you don't get a whole lot of bokeh out of it. And if you do get a lot of bokeh out of it, there's not, you know, you're not really gonna get any of that swirly look, and that's just the physics behind lens design. And in photography, you know, if you wanna increase your bokeh, you wanna get close to your subject and bring your subject further away from the backdrop or background, whatever you're shooting, and that's gonna increase the separation, the bokeh. Now, where the character starts stepping in with this lens is the fact that this is a F1.4 21mm lens with incredible close focus. A quick note on both of these lenses, since they are M mount lenses and they do mechanically link to my Leica M11, my Leica MP, which is my film camera, you notice when you get to the 0.7 meter focus mark, it stops, but then you could go past it. The reason it stops is that's what they need to do for them to mechanically accurately connect with a Leica camera for close focus. You guys are seeing all the images from the photo shoot from these two lenses. I use these lenses on my new Leica MEV1 that I bought, and this is the first M mount body with the electronic EVF. I got this camera purely for my fashion photo shoots and because I just love rangefinder systems and because I love using lenses like this that traditionally don't work properly on traditional rangefinders. So if you want to know more about that, there's a million videos, like maybe go check out Benj Heish. He's covered a lot of stuff like this. Being able to open this Thypoch 21mm up to f1.4, it's kind of like a secret weapon, because once you open up to f1.4 and you start utilizing depth and close focus, all of a sudden you're getting a lot more juice out of a wide angle lens that you traditionally wouldn't see, especially with all these crazy modern autofocus wide angle lenses for other companies. Those are great and everything, but a lot of them, again, they're pursuing clinicalness, flatness, perfection, where this naturally M mount lenses have built-in character into them. And the way that Thypoch's designing these lenses, still allowing some of that design language in here, but they're also really enhancing the sharpness capabilities. So again, This is what I'm saying here. You know, it's okay to embrace character. And, you know, sometimes you want more character, sometimes you want less character. But for me personally right now, I'm pursuing sharpness with character in the bokeh, maybe into the edges, like funky astigmatisms and stuff like that, while still being sharp on my subject.
We just having fun.
Yeah, I'm really into psychology and everything. And I think for me personally, and I'm assuming this is the same case for other people that are in the same mindset, I think what's happening is when I see an image that looks bigger than real life, that looks different than real life, I think that's what I'm drawn to. You know, something that almost feels foreign. It almost feels like a dream. It almost feels magical. That's what really, really, really captivates me and stops me in my tracks and makes me study an image. That along storytelling as well, obviously. And blending those two together, even better. That's it. All right. Goodbye. Thank you guys. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. You are the fucking best.